Take shelter at the lotus feet, Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Both the window and the door. Jayarata Madhava Kuncha Bihari Jayarata Madhava Yep. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Uttaramandir. All glories to Sambuddha. All glories to Krishna. All glories to Shiva Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayaudidaye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. So this is starting a new chapter, but also starting a new story or part of the Bhagavatam. Yesterday, Maharaj concluded the pastimes of Ritu Maharaj, the beautiful shloka that we heard, the Falashruti. And today we enter into a new section where we will hear about King Prachinivara and the Prachetas, and also in that we will hear about the story of Puranjana. So we'll try to talk a little bit about what is coming up, and we start with text 1 here. Board. Let's see. Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Yavi yo tatat kashta.
Yavi yo dadat kashta.
Yavi yo tatat kashta.
Yavi yo dadat kashta.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Yavi yo tatat kashta.
Yavi yo dadat kashta.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vritu putra pritu shravam.
Vritu putra pritu shravam.
Yavyo dadat kashta.
Yavyo dadat kashta.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalam.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalam.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Vichitasvo dirajasit.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Pritu putra pritu shravaha.
Yavi dadat kashta.
Yavyo dadat kashta.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Bhratribhyo bhratrivatsalah.
Uvacha
Maitreya Uvacha
Vijitashvodirajasi
Vijitashvodirajasi
Ritu Putra Ritushravaha
Rituputra Ritushravah
Yaviyobhyo Dadat Kashta
Yaviyobhyo Dadat Kashta
Ratribhyo Ratrivatsalaha
Ratribhyo Ratrivatsalah.
Vaishnavis.
Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya Uvacha
Vijitashvodirajasi
Vijitashvodirajasi
Rituputra Ritushravaha
Rituputra Ritushravah
Yavibhyo Dadat Kashta
Yaviyobhyo Dadat Kashta
Ratribhyo Ratrivatsalah
Ratribhyo Ratrivatsalah.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya continued to speak.
Maitreya continues to speak.
Vichitasva.
Vichitasva
Of the name Vichitasva.
of the name Vichitasva.
Adhiraja.
Adhiraja
The emperor.
the emperor
Asit.
Asit
Became.
became
Prituputra.
Rituputra,
The son of Maharaj Pritu.
the son of Maharaj Pritu.
Pritushravaha.
Pritushrava
Of great activities.
of great activities.
Yaviyobhya.
Yaviyoga
Unto the younger brothers.
and the younger brothers.
Adatat.
Adada
Offered.
offered
Kashta.
Asha
Different directions.
different directions.
Bhratribhya.
Pratibhya
Unto the brothers.
unto the brothers.
Bhratrivatsalaha.
Prahlad
Very affectionate to the brothers.
very affectionate to the brothers.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
The great sage Maitreya continued. Vichitashva, the eldest son of Maharaj Pritu, who had a reputation like his father's, became emperor and gave his younger brothers different directions of the world to govern, for he was very affectionate towards his brothers. Purport. After describing the life and character of Maharaj Pritu in the previous chapter, the great sage Maitreya began to speak about the sons and grandsons in the genealogical line of Pritu dynasty. After the death of Maharaj Pritu, his eldest son, Vichitashva, became emperor of the world. King Vichitashva was very affectionate toward his younger brothers, and therefore he wanted them to rule different directions of the world. From time immemorial, the eldest son generally becomes king after the death of the previous king. When the Pandavas ruled the earth, Maharaj Yudhishthira, the eldest son of King Pandu, became emperor, and his younger brothers assisted him. Similarly, King Vichitashva's younger brothers were appointed to govern the different directions of the world. End of purport. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Daranti Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Rasa Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Text again. Great sage Maitreya continued. Vichitashva, the eldest son of Maharaj Pritu, who had a reputation like his father's, became emperor and gave his younger brothers different directions of the world to govern, for he was very affectionate towards his brothers. So as mentioned, we are entering here in a new part of the Bhagavatam, and Maitreya speaks here about, continues the genealogical line, the dynasty of Prithu, and speaks about the eldest son, Vichitashva, who had a reputation like his father's, which that means something. We know the glory of Prithu, so his son had a similar reputation. And also he was very affectionate to his brothers. Yesterday Maharaj mentioned how we can get more nectar if we look at the Sanskrit words. And here it says, Bratri Vatsalaha. The word Vatsala we know from Vatsalya Rasa, which is the one of the rasas in the mood of parenthood. But here it's the Bratri Vatsalaha, it's the elder brother. Like we know Balaram takes the role of the elder brother of Krishna, and also has this mood and feeling of he wants to protect Krishna. So similarly here, it's described that Vichitashva had a lot of affection and this feeling of love and protection for his younger brothers. But it's also inspiring to see that it seems they had a very close relationship and there was no envy, so that he distributed the power and also empowered his youngest brothers to rule. So that's beautiful to see. What else can we say about the shloka? I was wondering when I read this kind of shlokas. But I must say I still feel very much nourished from yesterday's class. I think Maharaj's class was so beautiful, and it was such a wonderful example how much nectar is there in the Bhagavatam, how much we can relish by simply listening. And of course, especially, the Bhagavatam itself is so wonderful, but especially if the Bhagavatam is presented by the person Bhagavat. So there's two kinds of Bhagavat. There's the book Bhagavat, and there is the person Bhagavat, the Grantha and the Bhakta. And the person Bhagavat, when we hear from the person Bhagavat, then of course we hear the glory of the Bhagavatam, and also we hear the realization of that person. And that Shabda Brahman, it's called, that sound vibration that comes from the lips of such a pure devotee, that enters into our ears, and from the ears it enters into our hearts, and there our own bhakti is kind of nourished. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that just like fire is already there in the wood, and just if it comes in touch, like sometimes some sticks of wood they rub at each other and then fire comes out, or like butter is there in milk. It's already there, but you have to bring it out, right? So similarly, love for Krishna, or this devotion, bhakti, is already there in the heart, but it needs to be brought out. And how is it brought out? By sadhu sangha, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So when you listen, that transcendental sound vibration, then the bhakti of the speaker, through his sound vibration enters in our ears, touches the heart, and then from there our own bhakti is coming out. It's like a spark, fire that touches, and then the fire of devotion also starts to burn in our heart when we listen Bhagavatam. So that's the beautiful process of Shravanam Kirtanam, and I thought I can simply glorify a little bit, try to glorify Bhagavatam, and then we can have a look at these chapters that are coming up. So one beautiful glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that at the VIAG, when we study and teach the Bhakti Vaibhav course, usually recite this shloka. This is from Krishna Stava by Srila Sanatana Goswami. It goes like this: Sarva Shastrapti Piyushu Sarva Vedyakya Satvala Sarva Siddhantaratnatya Sarva Lokyatrika Prada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu Kalitvanto Ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Bhaktaya Prema Varshakrasharyate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you who are enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of the Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned amongst us. That's beautiful glorification. How, and of course, when we hear this glorification, it reminds us of different shlokas in the Bhagavatam that glorifies the Bhagavatam itself. It's the ripened fruit of the Vedas, and it's actually Krishna himself who appears now after Krishna left. But then the Bhagavatam appears just like the sun, who dissipates the darkness of the age of Kali to give us a direction. And then, O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. By reading you, one attains transcendental bliss, for your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. So when reading Bhagavatam, one derives bliss, and the Bhagavatam, every syllable rains pure love of God on the reader. Have you also noticed? Reading Bhagavatam, how you become wet, the rain of prema is kind of overflowing you because you're reading. That would be the ultimate result of reading Bhagavatam. That's why Prabhupada emphasized Bhagavatam so much. Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Prabhupada wanted us to study and read the Bhagavatam every day carefully, because there is such potency in the Bhagavatam, because the Bhagavatam is so different from the Lord. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. What better a reason would we have to read? We have these books on the basis, you know, that I'm trying to assist in that mission to promote the importance of reading amongst devotees. It's a very difficult task because many devotees feel that they don't have time to read, and in order to sit down and read it requires a certain amount of sattva guna. And usually we're always so much passion. Have to do this, have to do that, so many things to do. And if you sit down and you kind of become nervous, how can I spend a whole hour just sitting there and reading? That's like a whole hour, how is it possible? Or or the other way around, we're influenced by tamaguna, we start to read and we fall asleep. Because that influence is strong. So it requires a certain amount of sattva to sit down and understand, this is important, let me read. So yeah, there's many good reasons why we should read, but that's the ultimate one, that every syllable of the Bhagavatam can give us this pure love. Madhika Pandu Mat Sangin Mat Guru Man Mahadana Man Nishtaraka Mat Bhakya Mat Ananta Namastute Asadu Sadhu Tadain Atini Chochatakara Hanamon Chakata Chimam Premnarid Kantayos Pura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. And I find that such a beautiful, you can really understand Sanatana Goswami has a relationship with the Bhagavatam. It's not just, here is a book, and here I am, and usually the book stands there in the bookshelf. But I have a relationship. And what a relationship? Bandhu, Sangin, Guru, Mahadhana. Bhagavatam, you are my friend. And he said, my only friend. The only real friend. Of course, we have good friendship with devotees. But Krishna says, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, I'm the well-wishing friend of all the living entities. And actually, Prabhupada emphasized that the only friend is Krishna. And Prabhupada even said, you may think that I am your friend. And Prabhupada usually signed, your ever well-wishing friend. And of course, the Guru is our friend. But Prabhupada said, no, Krishna is your only friend. Basically, Prabhupada understanding himself to be a representative of Krishna, his transparent media. But Krishna is the only friend that we actually have. And Bhagavatam is not different. That's why Bhagavatam is our only friend. It's a companion. And also Guru, it's my teacher. And Mahadhana, my great wealth. Maharaj also touched on that yesterday. That how actually these books are great wealth. And Maharaj also told a story about the king who was kind of a robber, and they stole the books. And actually the way how it, I'm not sure whether Maharaj mentioned the way how they stole is because that king had an astrologer who could see if some rich people passed through the country, right? And the astrologer, oh my God, there is a group of people coming, greatest wealth. He could see from the astrological calculation. And when they stole the box and opened it, they were quite disappointed. Just books. This is just books. The king was kind of disappointed, doubted the ability of the astrologer. What's going on, right? But that's the point. These books are the greatest wealth, Mahadhana. Because what can you buy with jewels and gold? But the Bhagavatam establishes our eternal relationship with Krishna, and it gives pure love. It delivers us from the cycle of birth and death. As Maharaj also said yesterday and the day before, with the help of the Bhagavatam, we can cross over the Bhava Sindhu and we can dive deep into the Bhava Sindhu. I liked it so much, this analogy. We want to cross over the ocean of material existence, but we want to dive deep into the ocean of the nectar of devotion. And that's possible, that's why it's the Mahadhana. And then my favorite line is this one. Asadu sadhu tadhain. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness to the unsaintly. Giver of saintliness to the unsaintly. Even if we are quite unsaintly by our past, the way we have lived, by our activities in the past, by our mentality, by our desires that are still there in the heart. Yeah, we may consider ourselves, at least I can consider myself quite unsaintly in all respects. But then when we associate with the Bhagavatam makes us saintly, it gives us the saintly qualities. O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifested upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. That's also interesting. Okay, we understand the Lord, the Bhagavatam should be manifested in the heart, but why on the throat? Because then I can speak it. I want to glorify the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam should be manifested in the heart, so that I have the proper bhava, the proper mood, the love, and then also on the throat, so that I may be able to share and inspire others to feel the same bliss and feel the same connection to the Lord. So, beautiful glorification of the Bhagavatam, and repeating this prayer helps us to remind us of the glory of the Bhagavatam and our appreciation for it, and hopefully also our inspiration to read the Bhagavatam regularly. So now, I looked it up for what did Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur write about this text, because as I said, I felt a bit helpless. What should I say about this shloka? And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur simply says that this chapter describes how the Prachetas received the Rudra Gita. And that was the commentary. Okay. But maybe what is appropriate at the beginning of a new chapter, and especially at the beginning of a new section, maybe it's appropriate to give a little overview. We can do that. So what will come up? Like, there's a new movie coming out, there is a trailer, giving some insight, trying to encourage people to watch it. So maybe you can try to give a little trailer on what is coming up the next couple of weeks, maybe next couple of months, as we study these chapters of the Bhagavatam. So basically, this chapter 24 till 31, the remaining chapter of this 4 canto, describe basically Prajini and his sons, the Prachetas. And in the due course of this description, we hear on one side, we hear about Prachetas and how they received the Yuga Lagita, the song of Shiva, glorifying the Lord. But then also we hear the conversation between Narada and King Prajini, and there we hear the analogy of the story of the Puranjana. So let's start with this chapter. In this chapter, for those who do not know yet this book, that's a great jewel, the Bhagavatam. It's like a study guide for the Bhagavatam. It's really wonderful. Compiled by Krishna Premarupa Dasa from the Yuga village. And it really helps to give this bird eye to see the Bhagavatam from a perspective, to see a summary. So let's see. So in this chapter, the first 15 slokas, they will describe the genealogical line of Prithu, Vichitashva's wife and the sons, and then their sons, and finally we hear about Harishat, and how Harishat married Shatadruti, and how they got 10 sons, the Prachetas. And it's also described, it's interesting, it's described how Harishat, there's different names, Harishat and King Prajini, that's the same, just different names. So it's described how Harishat marries the daughter of the ocean, Shatadruti, and Shatadruti is described as extremely beautiful. And it's described that she was so beautiful that even Agni, the god of fire, became attracted during the marriage ceremony. There's a marriage ceremony, and then husband and wife getting married, they're circumlating the fire, and then when Agni present there saw the bride, he became lusty, like, oh, she's so beautiful. It's quite interesting. And then Prabhupada is commenting in the purports about how beautiful, how the attraction, how the material world is arranged in such a way that man feels attracted to women, and of course the other way around, women feels attracted to men, but that how that attraction is so strong that nobody is protected from that protection. Even great personalities like Lord Brahma became attracted to his own daughter. Even Lord Shiva, who became attracted. Shiva told to Vishnu, "I like to see your form of Mohini Murti. I heard about that glorious form." And Vishnu said, "Are you sure?" "Are you sure?" Yes, I want to see. And then when the Lord manifested Mohini Murti, even Lord Shiva became so disturbed, agitated, that he became so lusty, he ran behind Mohini Murti. And it's described, Mohini Murti purposefully ran to all the places where the great saint and yogis were meditating. They all saw how Shiva, the great, Shiva is the Yogeshwara, the great example of yogi, how he runs behind a woman. Very embarrassing. Why did the Lord do that? To teach all this, to teach everyone that nobody should think that he is, he has overcome the desire for sex, the desire to enjoy this world. Everyone is somehow influenced by it. And then Prabhupada makes the point, only those who actually have taken shelter in the Lord and always meditate upon the Lord's lotus feet, only they can be protected. Of course, we have the example of Haridas Thakur, how it's only by It's not by tapasya, not by knowledge, not by renunciation or any of these performance, but it's only if one just has a slight, if one develops devotion, bhakti for Krishna, then one will be protected from lust. So that's kind of a topic that comes up. And then, of course, they have the sons, the prachetas, and these prachetas are advised by their father to perform penances, tapasya, in order to prepare themselves to get later on married and then populate the world and enter Grihastha life. But they should do tapasya. And we know they enter into a lake and underwater perform tapasya, and the Lord Vishnu appears very pleased. And it's interesting, I once remember Rohini Sutta Prabhu once gave a class, and he made the point that the prachetas, they spent 10,000 years of tapasya, 10,000 years of brahmacharya preparation. So, okay, we're in different age, we're in Kali Yuga, so at least 10 years, no, everyone should at least 10 years brahmacharya, and then you can get married if you want. Yeah, 10 years is a little long. Nowadays, usually devotees stay maybe 3 years in the temple, 2 to 3 years, nowadays, average. But that's also good, like some good foundation, good training in the temple, like other people do some apprenticeship or some training. They spend a couple of years to do some study training. So similarly, we can stay in ashram, do some training, a couple of years, and then we go again back out into the world, and we have our family, our duties. But the point is that you should get some basic training. So the prachetas, they prepared, and then Shiva appeared before they actually really started. They had the darshan of Lord Shiva, and and Shiva appeared and blessed the prachetas, and there's a beautiful shloka. It's described why did Shiva appear? Because Krishna's devotees are very dear to me, Shiva says. No. Shiva says, because the devotees of Krishna are so dear to me, that's why I'm very pleased with you, that's why I came to bless you. So Shiva is very pleased if one worships Vishnu. And then Shiva reveals, he says, I'd like to give you a mantra which is Pavitra, Mangala and Param. A mantra that is pure, auspicious and transcendental. And that's the Rudra Gita. So text 33 to 73, like in 40 shlokas, beautiful prayers are given, glorifying the Lord, glorifying the different deities, different demigods, and beautiful prayers, powerful prayers, which prachetas then meditated and chanted. And of course at the end there comes also the Falashruti, as we heard yesterday. Again, after this chapter there is a beautiful Falashruti. And thus ends this chapter, and then after this description we hear how Narada Muni meets the father of the prachetas, King Prachinibhara, and then tells him, basically preaches to him, but he doesn't preach to him directly because he knows the king might not be able to immediately accept the preaching, so he tells it in a form of a story. And that's very interesting, that knowledge is often delivered in the form of a story because then people can much more appreciate it and understand it. And that's an amazing story, the story of Puranjana. Basically it's a story of the conditioned soul who comes into the material world, is bewildered by the material intelligence and attracted to the senses and sense objects, and falls into Maya. And it's beautifully described, like there is the city with 9 gates, which is the human body, and then the soul inside becomes attracted to a beautiful woman, and then enters a relationship, enjoys, and then at the end will be attacked by old age and disease and death, and has to leave, is forcefully dragged out of the body, and then is reborn. In chapter 28 we find the story how Puranjana becomes a woman in the next life, and so on. And then again talk between Narada Muni and the king, who analyzed the whole story, And then the final chapter describes again the Prachetas. And in this way, this fourth canto comes to an end. So there's a lot of nectar awaiting us in the remaining chapters. And I think that's all what I have prepared for today, because I didn't have so much time. And when I saw that Maharaj also comes to listen to my class, I felt a bit embarrassed. But at the same time, I'm now happy that Maharaj is here, because maybe Maharaj could enlighten us a little bit. We have more time. Maharaj could say something to kind of.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice, very sweet, and to the point. Well, one thing I was thinking from the verse, looking at the Sanskrit, this word adadat. So we had from Upadeshamrita a couple of days ago, verse number 4, dadati pratigrinati. So dadati, literally he or she gives, present tense. He or she gives, third person. And this is adadat. It's called a perfect tense. It's past. Gives. So we get a hint, I think, in this verse of a major theme of devotion, of the culture of devotion, namely giving. And in this case, it's the Adiraja, the emperor, is giving places to rule, and these places are kashta, which I looked it up. It can mean quarters or directions. So it's a way of expressing the idea of space divided with boundaries and so on. And then Bratri Vatsala, you nicely explained. Oops. That means Krishna says that's enough.
No, Krishna wants to test our eagerness. Krishna's testing our eagerness. How much you?
Såg lite bättre att innan.
Better. Sutta Goswami spoke to 60,000. I don't think he had such facility. He had either a very loud voice, or they had very good hearing, or a combination of both. Bratri Vatsala, it's nice point. We usually think of parental, it's the parental relationship, Vatsala. Coming from vatsa, which means calf. So it's the mood of the cow for her calf. But it's, as you pointed out, it can apply also the mood of the older brother to the younger brothers, as we see with Balaram, as we also see with Ramachandra in relation to his brothers. So that's nice. Vatsala, well, just now it reminds me also the Rasa of Prahlad and Cena. So this is a kind of inverse where the Lord, rather than the Lord having the mood of the parent of Krishna, in this case, Prahlad has the mood of being the child of the Lord. And that, I think it's in a purport, Prabhupada mentions that. That's also Bhakta Vatsala in a different sense. Well, I just happen to have some notes here also because you mentioned it coming up in your trailer. You mentioned the Rudra Gita is coming. So just recently I came across this. There's so many Gitas in the Bhagavatam. And a few of them we can mention. There's the Rudra Gita. There's also the Mahishi Gita in chapter 90, the final chapter of the 10th canto, verses 15 through 24. This is the wives of Krishna expressing themselves. And then there's the Uddhava Gita, which is the longest Gita by far, because it's Krishna giving instruction to Uddhava over some 22 chapters of the 11th canto. It's like the Bhagavad Gita in many respects, but it's even longer than the Bhagavad Gita. There's also a Bhikshu Gita, and this is I believe it's the Avanti Brahmana. And there's the Aila Gita, which is also 11th canto, chapter 26. And I don't remember what that is. Anyone remember Aila Gita? I can look it up. But earlier, in the 10th canto, we have some very important Gitas of the gopis. First there's the Venu Gita in chapter 21. And this is Purvana Lila. This is morning as the gopis are meditating on and praising the flute of Krishna. There's the Pranaya Gita, and this is in chapter 29. This is the first of the 5 chapters of the Rasa Lila, sometimes called the Rasa Panchanyaya. And this is where Krishna has played his flute. He's called the gopis. The gopis have come, and then Krishna tells them, "Oh, what are you doing here? Late at night in this dangerous place, you should go home." And then the gopis chant these verses or speak these verses to refute Krishna's arguments of why they should go home in such a way that they convince Krishna, okay, we will have rasa dance. Then, in chapter 31, so then Krishna disappears after shortly dancing, and then the gopis are searching for Krishna in chapter 30, and then comes the Gopi Gita. This is after they've been searching in the forest, it's become completely dark. They go back to the bank of the Yamuna, they sit down, and they sing the Gopi Gita. This is the complete chapter, verses 1 through 19, in which they express their longing and their agony of separation. Then, after the Rasa Lila, it's daytime, and it's kind of a usual day, you could say, in the day of Vrindavan. Krishna is going to herd the cows, and then he's coming back in the afternoon. And here we have in chapter 35 the Yuga Lagita, called the Yuga Lagita because it consists of 12 pairs of verses. Yugala means two, or a pair, So this is the gopis longing for Krishna again, after they've had the Rasa Lila and had this wonderful night of dancing with Krishna that extended to be like the night of Brahma. Now it's back to sort of ordinary life, and it's intolerable. Because now they're separated from Krishna again. So they're singing the Yuga Lagita. And then it gets worse with chapter 39, the Viraha Gita. The Viraha Gita is when Akrura comes to Vrindavan to fetch Krishna and Balaram to bring to Mathura, and as soon as the gopis find out what's going to happen, they panic and they start accusing everybody and anybody, including Lord Brahma, for causing this situation. They also criticize Krishna and say he's basically heartless. He won't even look at them, and now he's leaving. And so this viraha means separation. There's two words, vipralamba and viraha. Both can mean separation in effect. And then, Krishna leaves. And sometime later, actually several chapters later, chapter 47, is the Brahmana Gita. And this is the song according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it's Srimati Radharani, and she has become quite mad, and in her madness she speaks to a bumblebee, and Uddhava is looking on and listening, and he's amazed at what he hears. There's 10 verses there, the Brahmana Gita, and Gaudiya Acharyas say this Brahmana Gita, this is the ultimate of Vaishnava literature. 10 verses. But of course there are many other series of prayers, and I don't know if they are traditionally called Gitas, but these, what we've mentioned here, are referred to like that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Sharing some more nectar. I think that's very fascinating, that how you can always, there's so much to draw from in the Bhagavatam. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. All these actually, no, maybe we leave it like that. I had something I wanted to share, but I forgot.
No, please.
Should I?
Why
On the condition that you comment afterwards. Should have the final word. No, what came to mind in regards to this affection that Vichitasva had to his brothers, that affection, and how they cooperated together and ruled together. It's also with the Prachetas, and afterwards we see how Prachetas cooperate very nicely, and so much so that the Lord, when he appears, he expresses this. He said, "My dear sons of the king, I'm very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I'm so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. May you ask a benediction of me." Vishnu is speaking to Prachetas. And I think it's such a good example directly from the Shastra, which the Lord himself makes a point that if devotees cooperate and work together, Krishna will be very, very pleased. I'm so pleased by your mutual friendship. And this is something that gives us some inspiration. that we can try to cooperate together, work together. Also knowing that by doing so, Krishna will be pleased. Even if we sometimes feel some stress or we need to tolerate something. But knowing, let me tolerate, let me try to find some solution. Because it will be pleasing. And Prabhupada gives an amazing purport. And there he says, this unity between individual soul is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to having different opinions and leaning towards material things. So even in the Hare Krishna movement, there is sometimes disunity. Or maybe especially there's so much, controversial issues and different opinions. But what does Prabhupada say? He says, actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There cannot be two opinions in Krishna consciousness. There is only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there is some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Wow. And if you look at the present situation, there's so many topics that devotees have such different opinions and they're fighting with each other. But it's interesting, Prabhupada's logic is that at the end of the day, there is only one opinion because we want to please Krishna. And that's true, you take any topic